but actually I got for Christmas, I got a photo about the World Cup.
Why are we talking about this now? It's because of several things that have happened in the last couple of years or so, all of which have caused us to question the nature of what net neutrality and internet freedom actually mean. Some of these things that happened are WikiLeaks, the Google versus China spat, where hackers try to infiltrate Google and access email accounts of Chinese human rights activists, the role of Twitter in the Iranian elections in 2009, Hillary Clinton's speech on internet freedom in January of last year, the ludicrous nomination of the internet for the Nobel Peace Prize, and then locally, and even more ludicrously, I think, our own ANC Youth League's threats to have Twitter closed if people didn't stop what they termed the creation of fake accounts which made fun of Julius Malema. If I have to sum up what interests me about the issue of internet freedom, it's this. Much has been said about the internet's power to democratize, but what does democratize actually mean? In the same way that your sainted grandmother would question certain things that the internet generation takes for granted, such as the need to be online 24/7 and the unquestionably positive nature of instantaneous global communications, we need to question things that thoroughly democratized nations take for granted. And America, I suppose, is the democratic best of breed here.
Another thing that I would like to bring up is the difference or the contrast between global and national. The internet is global in its very nature, but still we get national sensitivities. Let me give you a quick example. Google Street View might not be a big deal in a lot of countries. Well, in Germany, the country that has seen the Nazi Secret Service and the Stasi Secret Service having your house photographed, filmed, and put online is not exactly the thought that people like. You know? So in Germany, I don't know if you know that, in Germany there was a whole movement against Google Street View. And Google reacted, understandably, well, it's not a problem anywhere in the world, only here. And the Germans said, yes, yeah, it is, you know, and we think with a reason, yeah? You know, so what I'm saying, there obviously seems to be a contradiction or a conflict between global and national.
I think probably my biggest insight over the last few years has been this contradiction between the intention of policy, which is very good, which is about connectivity and granting access to the internet and the possibilities of the infrastructure and the information highway. And then somewhere along the line, we just tend to screw it up because the public interest objective gets lost and we get legislation that really can't stand its ground when it comes to the internet.
I want to actually talk about the huge contradiction between, on the one hand, thank you, yeah. On the one hand, my adherence to and love of freedom of expression as a cartoonist, as an editorial cartoonist, who has, as you know, got into trouble on a number of occasions, starting in the apartheid era and certainly recently as well. I do believe in freedom of expression. A drawing like that, that was the one of all the cartoons I've ever done, has got me into the biggest amount of trouble, and it's the kind of thing which I would like to be able to put on the net and not have anyone tell me I can't. The issues are explosive. I don't want that kind of regulation that somebody says, well, we have editorial control over that cartoon. The contradiction is that as much as I believe in freedom of expression, my stuff and other people's content, I'm sure you've all had that, things that you put on the net are taken and abused out of context by other people. And there's a weird dissonance there which I'm dealing with every day. And I want to be able to find those goddamn people who do that and actually say, no, it's copyright. You can't actually abuse the thing in that particular way.
People in my industry, for example, are debating how to put up paywalls for content. And where Jonathan is talking about how does he control his access to his cartoons and where they are situated. And I really think that there is no way to actually do that. I mean, that's going to be the obvious answer that we get to tonight. There is no way to actually control access to those cartoons. However, you can control the framework in which those cartoons appear in the main. But the classic answer that social media practitioners give about accountability is that the people will decide.
Is there a way of setting up a body that would then say, well, look, you need to be able to trace the people who put that stuff up there, and say, no, you can't actually do that.
You know, there's been so many attempts to harmonize and to, you know, in the face of all the confusion, to add some sort of answerable layer, or a layer that has efficiencies and is able to administer well. And probably the one that's been most successful is the domain name administration body, which is ICANN.
In our society, we can put up a Prophet Muhammad cartoon and it's protected. Whereas in Saudi Arabia, where that same internet is, more or less, it's not. You know, you can never ever legislate in that sense, in like that kind of macro sense. You can only ever legislate on a local level. And I think that's one of the major disruptive attributes of the internet. That actually belongs to everybody, but it has to exist episodically in these different places in terms of laws.
It certainly left us, actually, as we suspected, with a lot more questions on all of these issues than certainly any bloody answers, which is a little bit infuriating if any of you came here looking for answers. But then again, the answers are actually all on the web. You just have to look them up.